As you may or may not be aware, the Vial of Bountiful Season is a consumable that gives you a buff to either your finesse or your resourcefulness, depending on the season. Now, currently it's finesse, and shortly, when we hit winter in WoW terms, then it will be providing resourcefulness, and this is going to have a huge effect on crafting in World of Warcraft. Now, no one knows exactly for sure when this is going to happen because it's not happened before, but based on how other things happen in the game, we use sort of similar wording, we think it's probably going to happen on the 21st of December. So this is happening really, really soon. Now, this video is a bit of a warning, if anything. I'm going to tell you what I think will happen when it flips over, and from there you can make your own decisions as to what you actually think will happen based on the information, etc. Basically then, in less than a week from the release of this video, every crafter in the land is suddenly going to have loads more resourcefulness than they had before. So what's going to sort of be the effects of this? Well, basically it's going to bring down the crafting costs of everything, basically. Now, resourcefulness works for everything. It works from raveling, prospecting, refining, milling, and of course it works for the basic crafting of anything as well. So like I said, we're going to bring down those crafting costs of absolutely everything. But the effect of this is going to vary from craft to craft. So if you're saying crafting something where you just buy the materials from the auction house and then craft it. So say something like rank 2 tempered potions. Go to the auction house, buy your rank 1, your rank 2 herbs or whatever, craft into a rank 2 tempered potion and sell it on the auction house. Then it's going to have an effect because you have that chance of your resourcefulness procs when you are crafting, but the effect isn't going to perhaps be as large as with other things. So you are going to see the cost of that rank 2 tempered potion come down, but there are other things that are going to be much more affected by this change. Now, say you are crafting rank 3 tempered potions, the price of these is going to come down more because you can refine your own herbs into rank 3, which has a chance of resourcefulness proc, and you can also then craft the potion. So because you're doing 2 things, you have twice as much chance to get resourcefulness procs. So it's more going to be bringing down that crafting cost more than anything else. Basically, the Vial of Bountiful Seasons is having twice the effect on that craft because you're going through 2 stages of crafting. Things that require 3 stages of crafting, for example, things like boundless ciphers, exquisite weavercloth bolts, those are going to be sort of much more affected by this change that we are seeing when this Vial of Bountiful Seasons flips over to resourcefulness. So for these, for example, for the boundless ciphers, first you mill your herbs, then you craft those pigments that you've made from that milling into inks, and then you've crafted those inks into boundless ciphers. So therefore you're doing 3 stages of crafting, and therefore you've got sort of that effect of that resourcefulness sort of 3 times over. So it's going to bring down the crafting costs and things like that much more than say like the rank 2 tempered potions where you've only got that 1 chance of a proc. So basically, my warning is that crafting costs are going to be coming down, and for some things they're going to be coming down by quite a bit because this file does give quite a lot of resourcefulness. So ideally you don't want to be stuck on a huge stockpile of stock when this flips over, because what you're going to see is suddenly all those crafting costs come down, so the auction house prices will come down, and you could well be sat on a big loss if you are sat on a lot of stock. So like we said, this is likely happening on 21st of December, not 100% sure, so that's Saturday 21st of December, and once that hits, once that has flipped over, and I probably will put a video saying that exactly, just to confirm when it has flipped over, at that point, then that Vial of Bountiful Seasons will be sort of mandatory for crafting. And that was, like I said, we'll start seeing those prices most likely coming down as everyone's crafting costs is going down. So most importantly, just don't be sat on all that stock. In the meantime, just make sure you get everything sold up before sort of that change comes in. Now, another thing people have been asking me a lot about is flipping the Vial of Bountiful Seasons. So obviously this file, it is used, but it is not widely used at the moment. But when this flips over, like we said, this is going to be mandatory for pretty much everything to do with crafting, or milling, or prospecting, everything. And therefore, the demand for this vial is going to go absolutely crazy. So some people have come to me and said, well, should I be buying these up now and selling them later on? Now, the demand for these is definitely going to go crazy, but it's like all things. You don't know how much people have got stockpiled. I know quite a few people have come to me and said they're already stockpiling these, anticipating the price going up. It's exactly the same as the other situations that talk about investing. You don't know what other people have got in your banks. And because of that, there's always a lot of risk involved. So it's definitely not something I'm going to be doing, not something that I suggest doing. Now, another thing you have to consider is the price to actually produce these vials is actually going to come down. Price of herbs, remain fairly stable. But because you have then got that extra resourcefulness, then it's actually going to be cheaper to produce the vials as well. So not only do you have sort of the situation whereby you don't know how much people have stockpiled, these can be quite easily mass produced as well. So we don't 100% know what will happen. I think it's quite a big risk to be stockpiling these, but as usual, you guys probably do what you're going to do, and we could potentially see the prices go up, but we could potentially see the prices go down as well. So we'll just have to see what happens when it does flip over. Now, I did a video a few weeks ago talking about the Vial of Bountiful Seasons, and you could run a sort of the basic alchemy spec to sort of passively increase duration, so you could get an hour-and-a-half duration on these instead of 30 minutes. Now, this was a super easy spec to set up. You could set it up in like 5 minutes, and it costs barely any gold. And obviously, it's going to reduce the crafting costs that you have with those professions sort of over the next 6 months while this vial is on resourcefulness. Now, a lot of you will probably already have enchanting set up on second specs for the characters that you do have at crafters. That's fair enough. It's definitely not worth replacing that. If you don't have a second profession on any of your characters that you are going to be using resourcefulness on, then it's probably a decent enough spec to set up for that. Now, the video will be popping up in the top left if you're interested and you have a free profession slot available. I'm probably going to be setting this up on quite a few of my crafters just to save that little bit of extra gold that it saves you from sort of having to use a lot less of these vials. So the TLDR of this is the vial is flipping over soon. Don't be sat on loads of stock, because the crafting costs will be coming down, so the price in the auction house probably will be coming down, and you could well lose a lot of gold if you are sat on sort of a huge stockpile of stuff. The only thing perhaps that is worth sitting on is your concentration stuff if you're saving that for season 2, but sort of that's debatable as well, but it's not really going to affect that sort of thing. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.